That's the problem with some agencies is that they're so heavily focused on one area of expertise that if something happens, they're not able to, they take a huge hit. Like we don't control rate. We can only control what we control. If we can't pivot, we haven't already prepared for this, we're in trouble.
Would it benefit you to hear what a top agent is currently doing to take advantage of the marketplace and what he would change if he went back to day one? Today, Courtney and I sit down with Matt Moriarty, an elite agency owner, and we dive into those topics and more. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we have a very special guest, Matt Moriarty. Matt, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. I couldn't be better.
I
I'm on
love
your
the
show. Come on now.
Oh, Matt, this energy. Let's freaking go.
Yeah, this is definitely LFG energy. All right. I love it. We said, Matt, what's up? He starts high energy vibes. I'm like, I like this guy
Here
already.
we go.
I like
Right?
him.
We're going to get into it.
All right, Matt, I want to start off the conversation. So you are one of the top insurance agents with the company you represent year in, year out. I follow you on socials. I want to know right now, if you could go back to day one or first year of starting an insurance agency, is there anything that you would have done differently than you did?
1,000%. And I've made every mistake in the book to start. I come from a sales background, and it's always been something that it's you hold yourself to a standard. You're the person that's selling. And so you're more interested in what you can do to better yourself. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that I made was, especially early on, was seeing people, teammates as not an investment, as that I am the agent and they work for me, instead of looking at it from a standpoint of these are my team. This is something that that if we're going to grow the business, we have to do it together, and being able to coach and train and do all that kind of stuff. When I first started, it was funny because my first salesperson, I basically just had a bunch of leads and I handed it to him and I said, all right, good luck. There was no scripts, no nothing, no training. And then I wondered why they failed. And it was because of me. I had to look at why are they not succeeding? It's because I didn't spend any time in them. I didn't invest any coaching. I didn't have a platform like yours to be able to show them the proper way to become the best version of themselves. I was more interested in becoming the best version of me instead of looking at it as, hey, look, we're a team. We can scale and grow this if we do this as a team. So that was the biggest mistake. If I had to do over again, I would have done that differently.
Well, you said something early when we very first were just catching up and connecting before we went live. And it was a mindset, like people are a cost versus people are an investment mindset. And that's what you're hinting at right here. And that really stood out to me. And I think a lot of business owners struggle with that. I know that I struggled with that when I very first started. I know we struggled with that because
payroll's your biggest expense.
You have so many expenses going out the door.
The mindset that you keep hearing. Those are the words that other entrepreneurs use.
Yeah.
That people are your biggest expense, but they also are your biggest asset. I want to drill down a little bit because what you're talking about is like chicken and the egg. Do you hire before you have a training program, or do you find a training program before you hire? So I'm curious on your thoughts on that.
So I would, if it were me, if I had to do over again, I would have a training program in place to be able to do that, because I don't think it's anything that you can do on the go. I think you have to have those systems and processes in place to put people in successful positions, because even if you look at individual success, right? I'm a really competitive guy. I like to win, right? In anything that I do, but it's not willy-nilly. It's not like I just go out and just expect that. There's certain systems and processes that I hold myself accountable to, and it should be the same way with your team as well. Because honestly, like who would have wanted to work for me? Because there was no direction, there was nothing going on other than it was a job, as opposed to casting a vision of, hey, listen, this is something that we can grow into. This is something that we can continue to grow as a team. And this is something that, even if you looked at my early social media posts, it was like, I did this, I did that. Well, I did not do all that, right? Like it takes a team to be able to do that. And in order to be a high performer, it's a high performance team, not just an individual. So
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up because I think that is a hurdle that we put without really knowing that we don't have the thing that comes after the hire, so we hesitate in hiring. It's like when you commit to a workout routine or a diet and you're like, okay, I need to lose 10 pounds. If we don't have the thing that's going to help us lose the 10 pounds, we're more hesitant to get started in that versus when we have a clear plan laid out, it's easier to go, oh, I'm just going to plug this person in the system. So I love that you clarified that because we hear a lot of times when we're talking to agents and they're getting ready to hire, they're like, oh, wait, I'll just wait and start the training program after we hire the person. So I was curious on your perspective on there. So you brought up what you didn't do so well. I'm curious what you did well in those 8 years. In the very beginning, what's the thing that you were like, oh, I crushed it?
Yeah, no, I really think that, so my background is that out of college, I was selling copiers, so I had to make 100 outbound calls every single day. And then if I didn't have appointments in the afternoon, I'd have to go get 50 business cards. And that really taught me, it brought me out of it taught you rejection and not being able to take that personally. Because when I first started, I would walk into a place and they would be like, no soliciting. And so I learned as you go in, you're like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful office. This is so amazing. And you learn to kind of charm people a little bit and be able to talk to people. And then after that, most of my friends were in the mortgage business. And so I was like, this sounds like really good. They were making all this money. And so I got into the mortgage business and I learned that business. And so as an insurance agent, I think that's invaluable because if you're looking to get referrals from referral partners, being able to solve problems for them, it's just like when we're solving problems for our clients, being able to solve problems for them. I was telling my team earlier in our meeting today that the biggest differentiator, and most of these people will bring in like candy and donuts and breakfast burritos, and I would be in there solving problems, right? I would tell them, look, if you give me a referral, I'm gonna jump on it right away. If a COI request comes in, I'm gonna jump on that right away. I'm an extension of your team, and so we'd sit there and eat the breakfast burritos these other people brought in, and meanwhile, we're getting the business on that. So, like, it's solving problems from that standpoint. And then when the mortgage industry went, then I got into selling into the energy and utility space, and I rose to a vice president of sales in that industry. And the cool thing is that I was talking to people who were C-level type people, and it gave me an opportunity to really look at high net worth individuals and be able to talk with them and solve their problems as well. So I think those three things really transformed into getting into the insurance business because I went out and for the first 5 years, most of our business was from referrals and networking and things like that up until around 2020 when I knew I had to change because after that, the mortgage business kind of went a little bit downhill and I knew that we had to get into other areas of marketing like leads and things like that, which I never wanted to do. But it really taught me from that standpoint, using that sales framework the same way that I'm talking to someone who's a referral. Because if someone gives you a referral, 90% of the time, you're probably going to close it, right? But we're doing the protection aspect even on leads and not just focusing on price, I think was the biggest differentiator.
I love that you bring that up, and I want to speak to the listener and the person that is watching this right now. What Matt just did right there was he went through and he took all of his experience that he had, world experience, and he said, okay, how does this apply to the current industry that I'm in? You can do the exact same thing. So I would invite you to look back on the careers, choices that you've made, the people that you've interacted with, things that you excelled at, and really put together, like, how does this benefit my current position or my current role in insurance agency? Because you'll find that a lot of what you have been doing is preparing you for this.
Absolutely.
And you just said something at the very end of that I don't want to skip over, and it was protection instead of price.
Oh, for sure.
Protection instead of price. So I would love to know what you did to implement that culture that you've now established within your agency to be more focused on protection and value instead of on price.
Yeah, no, great question. First and foremost, as a business owner, I mean, we obviously want people to be on the books for a long period of time. And if someone buys on price, they're going to leave on price. And if you set that expectation up front, you're no better than Geico or Progressive. And let's be honest, I tell my team this all the time. If you're an order taker, like there's AI right now that sound just like real people, right? The key is being able to solve problems because that makes you valuable. And especially in our space, like we're going to be around forever if you are an advisor as opposed to someone who's just selling on price. And you're not doing them any service either. You all know this. You guys talk about this all the time. It's the biggest detriment. I tell my team this all the time. The last thing I want is for someone to come in and say, hey, listen, please tell me that we have life insurance. My husband or my spouse just died. Please tell me. And then have to live with the fact that I never asked about that, or have something catastrophic happen in their lives and it be on me or someone on my team that we didn't do right by someone. Because obviously that's the reason insurance exists, is to protect against catastrophic losses. And if we're not doing our job, then what's the point of being in the business?
Woo, you are speaking our language. Man, you're speaking our language, because it's so true. In the market moving forward, with technology and AI, if you do not have the ability to have a meaningful conversation and you are just an order taker answering simple insurance questions, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to continue to say this: you will be replaced by a robot if you are not going to skill up and actually have real conversations with real people that matter.
1,000%.
All right. I want to talk about pivots. The pivots you have made over the last 18 months with the current market conditions we're in. Have you made any pivots that you have seen success from?
Yes and no. We're lucky enough that Colorado is what farmers calls a green state, meaning that like they want to grow PIF in policies in force in Colorado.
I'm sorry. You said a green state, and then you said Colorado. My mind went completely different. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I guess it is that one too. But
I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Carry on.
But no, and I think that knowing that, I think we want to go all in. And the bottom line is that I've had coaches and mentors who have, outside of the insurance space, who are like, this is separation season, right? This is the time when most people are peeling back and laying people off and not going all out. And I really believe that this is the time that can really change the trajectory of any business that you're in, not just insurance. I really think that if you lean into growth and doing it in a smart way, it's really going to pay off, because we have clients that we've had for 8 years that are now shopping, right? But so is everybody else. It's not like it's just one carrier that's doing this. I have friends that are independent agents. I have friends that are all State Farm, whatever. Everyone's going through the same thing. So you can either look at it as, hey, poor me, right? Like all these things are going on, or you can look at it as, this is great, because this is an opportunity to bring in brand new people and when you're talking with them, change their mindset on, is this going to be price driven, or are we going to have a real insurance conversation? And I got to tell you, the way that we're doing it, we're bringing people in who have 25, 50 who are calling about saving money, and we're bumping up their coverage. In a lot of cases, get them 250, 500 with an umbrella policy to make sure that, because they have no idea. Like Colorado in general, and I know all over the United States, but Colorado is one of the worst tort states there is. And we want to make sure that they know this and what assets are actually exposed, and come to that realization, tell a story of something that's actually happened to one of our clients, and then put them in that position. Because telling someone something, they're not going to listen. But if you can put them in that accident, they're like, whoa, I cannot believe that I've never had this conversation before. So I think that is the key right there.
We're smiling. If you're not watching us on YouTube, Michael and I are smiling because we preach this in the presentation.
This is the sales conversation we teach day in and day out. I love it.
You have to story sell, because if not, if somebody outside of the insurance industry has no idea what an umbrella is or liability limits and what it actually means.
What insurance actually does.
Yeah.
What does insurance actually do? Geico for the last 25 years is saying, just save money, go cheap. Insurance is the most important thing in people's lives to protect them from the unknown when something happens. Period. Sure. And the only way they understand that is by utilizing stories in the conversation that empowers the customer. An empowered customer becomes a confident customer, and a confident customer becomes a buying customer. And it's so freaking true. I love it. I want to go back, though, just real fast. So your foot is on the gas pedal. We're going heavy right now. We are laying it to the floor. Is there anything specifically that you are leaning heavy into to continue to grow your business?
Yeah, thankfully, obviously, depending on your carrier or what you're doing, like we're leaning into commercial, we're leaning into personal lines, we're leaning into life and financial, we're leaning into whatever is available, whatever's on sale. And right now, we want to be a complete agency because I think that's the problem with some agencies is that they're so heavily focused on one area of expertise that if something happens, they're not able to. They take a huge hit. Like we don't control rate. We can only control what we control. And so I'll use my carrier, for example. If Farmers takes rate on home and auto, and we don't have a plan and we don't have, you mentioned pivoting. If we can't pivot, we haven't already prepared for this, we're in trouble. And I think that's like the most important thing is to try and go after exact like different portions of that. Because if we're already trained in commercial and we're already killing it in commercial, even if it doesn't matter what's personal lines is going on, right? Like we do a SWOT analysis like every quarter to try and look at exactly our strengths, weaknesses, the threats, especially like things that we can't control and where we're going to go in case that happens.
Rapid fire time. We ready, Matt?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love that because you were talking about your point was where were you leaning in on separation season? I love that you brought that up. That leads us to rapid fire questions. Here we go. Specialist model or generalist model?
Specialist model. I think that you have to separate the two. There's no like service people are good at service. Sales people are horrible at service. Like it's just not the right mindset for them. They want to get out and sell. You want someone who's going to hold someone's hand and be able to help them. It's just a different mindset.
I love that. Okay. If I were to give you $10,000 right now to invest in your business, what would you do?
I would hire more people and spend $5,000. I would hire more people and then buy more marketing.
Who specifically would you hire right now?
Right now, we just hired two more salespeople, so we need another service person. So I would hire a service person.
Okay, and then the $5,000 you would spend on marketing.
Absolutely.
What kind of marketing?
Probably internet leads.
Okay, I like it. Specific internet leads. Do you have any that you really love? Like life leads, commercial leads, live?
No, they would be personal lines leads. Yeah,
nice.
Home and auto.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I never had much success with commercial leads, so
I could get into that. I'm going to stay with rapid fire, and then we're going to unpack that one. Who would be your first hire if you had to go back over and start today? Who would be the first person that you would hire?
It would be my first hire. It would be Kendra. So Kendra has been with me for 9 years. She actually just had, or 8 years. She actually just had twins, and so right now she is at home. But she is like I talk to her about every single move that I make, and it's nice because she handles a lot of our recruiting these days. And so she knows the culture. She knows our core values. She knows exactly where we're going, and she's able to sell that. And the problem is me being in sales is I like everybody. So like I'm horrible at interviewing because I'm someone who like she asks like the tough questions, and I'm more along the lines of selling them on the opportunity. So she would be the first hire.
So Kendra is like your number two. Is she sales,
Absolutely.
Service? What does that look like for her? What are her
No, so
responsibilities?
she now has 3 kiddos. So she has more of an assistant role at this point.
Okay.
She doesn't do any personal lines or any sales at this point. She did, but now she's more along the lines of she's working part-time and helping me out with these types of things. So
I love that. And the interesting thing when I ask this question, usually I get a name. It's not a position, it's a person. And I love that whole concept of, oh, I need this person. Who's your Kendra? Who's this person that you could hire? Okay, if you had to go back from the very beginning and you had to pick a product line to focus on, what product line would you focus on?
Great question. Probably, I think personal lines is the easiest one to learn. So I think I would do that. Yeah, for sure.
That concludes this episode of Rapid Fire. It's an episode within an episode. Great job, Matt. Thank you so much for playing.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to unpack a little bit. You said you haven't had a ton of luck with commercial leads, and I know that captive agents and independents, we're very focused on diversifying our book of business right now with what's happening with personal lines. So talk a little bit about where you're getting your commercial leads from.
Yeah, great questions. Referrals mostly. When I started, I did the exact same thing. So when I started in the personal line space, I went out and found referral partners. On commercial lines, I did exactly the same thing. I went out, instead of looking at a mortgage person, I looked at a banker. Instead of a real estate agent, I looked at a commercial real estate agent, right? So I think networking is key. Like we're still in like BNI, we're still in the Chamber of Commerce, we're still in different areas. We do have we've built up a pipeline of businesses. And then from our current clients, I think asking our current client, one of the things that we do before we hang up the phone is that, do you know anyone who owns a business or do you own a business? And so we get a lot of traction from that. There are certain programs that we have one person who does call on commercial lead, or not their leads, but they're not like bot leads. They're more along the lines of lists, and they're specific to what we're actually going after, like mostly contractors or restaurants or things like that.
So good. So good. Matt, if someone wanted...
Wait, before we wrap this up, if you had to give someone one piece of advice, an insurance agent right now that is in this situation of what the market looks like, if you had to give them one piece of advice, what would you give them?
I would say, I think the most important thing is the enthusiasm. I think that if you have a team, whether it's one person or if you're a solo person, you gotta go in. There's certain things that you can never, ever control. You can't control rates. You can't control the market. You can't control, but what you can control is your attitude and your actions. And if you go out there and have a positive view of things that are going on and reframe, instead of thinking at it, this is a bad market, think of this is a great market. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest challenge is people's mindsets. They go on some of these Facebook things and you get around people who are always negative. Get around positive people. Get around growth-minded people. Listen to podcasts like this. Get coaching from people like you, right? Like that's the most important thing. I think that you need to look at the opportunity because it's never going to be perfect, right? It never will be. But the most important thing is your mindset and how you look at things and how you're going to grow, and not just look at it as today, look at it like from a future standpoint. I am nowhere near where we're going. We have big goals of where we want to go to, and I'm not that person yet. We're always evolving. I need to grow as a owner. I need to grow in other areas. I need to grow my team. I need to grow all of these things. So it's okay that this is the level that we're at right now, but always look to go to that next level.
So good. Matt, I'm glad we didn't do this in person, because I swear if we did this in person, it would just sound like high fives all day long. I'd be like, yeah. This was such a high energy interview. I am so excited. If you're listening to this right now, go back on those days when you're like, the world feels heavy, like you're dealing with customers. Just go back and listen to this and just absorb some of this hype. Such a great interview. I love this conversation.
Enthusiasm.
Energy is transfer
of energy.
Yes.
Transfer of energy, 100%.
Yes.
That's it.
Don't be an Eeyore. We got enough of those. Come on now. Go out and be Tigger. Come on.
Matt,
be bouncing all over.
If somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, maybe work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, Facebook, obviously, Instagram. We're all over social media. And I think I gave you the link, so if you post those, they could find me. But yeah, that would be amazing. I'm open to help anybody, so.
Oh, yeah. Links will definitely be in the notes.
Check show notes.
Check the show notes. I would love to know. I feel like there was a ton of value. My page is full of notes right now. So I would love to know, what's one takeaway that you took away from Matt? Shoot us a text, 816-727-7610. Other than that, as always, time and attention are by far our most important assets, your most important asset, and we appreciate you spending time with us today. Matt, thank you again, man. This is so
Of course. Thank you.